Ahsantum, thank you very much to the Sayyid for that beautiful recitation. I'm sure it moved a lot of us, and it certainly moved me. For the next part of the program, we move on to the lecture, which will be recited by our dear brother Sadiq Damani. Our dear brother Sadiq is somebody who you'll know and has recited in various different centers. And not only that, he's been a member of this community, of this center for a number of years in the past, and has helped to work with the youth and with many of the attendees here. So it's our honor to have him back. Before he comes up to recite, can I please ask everybody to just get up and move forward slightly towards the front. There's lots of space here in the front, so if you could please just make your way forward so that there's more space. And whilst you do that, I'd like to welcome my dear respected brother Al-Hajj Sadiq Damani. Please welcome him with al-salat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
Inshallah, before we begin, you'd be so kind in offering Surah Al-Fatiha.
All of our esteemed Maraja who are no longer with us, all of our Shuhada who are no longer with us, for all of the Marhameen of our family members present here today, and for all of the Mu'mineen and Mu'minat from across the world, wherever they may be, من قرأ سورة وبركة الفاتحة.
أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين، خاتم النبيين، سيدنا ونبينا وحبيب قلوبنا وطبيب نفوسنا، أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد. وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المأسومين المذمومين، واللعنة الله على أعدائهم من الآن إلى قيام يوم الدين. أما بعد، بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. آمنا بالله صدق الله العلي العظيم. Inshallah, to send our condolences to our awaited Savior Al-Qa'im min Ali Muhammad, I ask you to raise your hands in dua, and together we recite dua al-Faraj. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Everyone together. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلاتك عليه وعلى آله في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة، وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا دليلا وعينا، حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا. يا الله يا الله يا الله. اللهم عجل لوليك الفرج، واجعلنا من أنصاره وأعوانه والمستشهدين بين يديه. سيد هاتف الزهراء عليها السلام، سند الصلوات على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. Brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has yet again given us an opportunity to reflect. And he tells us in the Quran on many occasions, أَفَلَا تَتَفَكَّرُونَ. Do you reflect? Do you even bother to reflect? Almost rhetorically asking. Reflect on what? On the everyday occurrence that we see in life, everything that is around us, but specifically what? I am sure that every single one of us in this room, be it in the past, be it in the present, or be it in the future, will or are currently facing challenges, adversities, problems, frustrations. That can be a tough exam for the younger ones. That could be a financial challenge for the elders. That could be a health condition for any of us. That could be a loss of the loved one for any of us. Maybe it's something that no one knows about, or maybe it's something that the community is supporting. Perhaps this is one of those things that we're meant to reflect on and think, why is it that I face these challenges? Why is it that I face these adversities? They're a reality. We see them everywhere. No one in this world has gone through this world without any calamity or challenge faced. Why? Why has Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created this world in such a way that we're tested? He says in the Quran, in Surah Al-Ankabut, Surah number 29, verse number 2, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. أَحَسِبَ النَّاسُ أَن يُتْرَكُوا أَن يَقُولُوا آمَنَّا وَهُمْ لَا يُفْتَنُونَ. Do people think that they will get away with saying, we believe, and not be tested? Truly we tested those who went before them, so it became clear. All of us, by giving up a Saturday evening, and probably not just this Saturday evening, but many other evenings in our lifetime, and may Allah allow us to continue to give up evenings to remember Ali Muhammad, inshaAllah, that we say, yeah, we believe. Of course we believe. You can call me Shi'at Ali, you can call me Shi'at Fatima, you can call me Shi'at Muhsin, you can call me Shi'at whoever. I believe, yeah, no problem. Why is it I don't get tested? Allah's clear. Do people think that they will get away by saying, we believe, and not be tested? Truly we tested those who went before them, so it became clear whose claim was true and whose was false. Which of us wear the wristband of Shi'at Ali but fail the test? Which of us don't wear the bracelet of Shi'at Ali but succeed the test? We all say we believe, but does our heart commit to that belief? Now, I don't wish to spend time on this topic today as to why tests are introduced. But what I do wish for us to do today, inshallah, and for tomorrow, if Allah gives us the tawfiq, is to ask you to think. Is to ask us to reflect. Is to leave these 2 nights of majalis saying, you know what? I am going to invest. I'm not just going to let each majlis pass me by, each Saturday night that I've given up pass me by, each fajr that I prayed pass me by. I'm not just going to let it pass by anymore. I'm going to reflect. I'm going to invest. In the same way that I invest in, whether it's haram or halal is a different story, Bitcoin. Whether if I invest in the pound or the dollar or oil or this share or that share or this business or that apartment, I'm going to invest in my faith. I'm going to invest in my reflection. I'm going to invest in my apartment. And when we talk about this reflection on these challenges, problems, adversities, as we've just heard by the dear Sayyid with such a beautiful recitation, Lady Fatima alayhi salam encompasses the concept of facing adversity. It starts at the moment when the Holy Prophet is martyred, and she's faced with adversity after adversity, calamity, difficulty. Just days after the Holy Prophet is martyred, she's suffering till her last breath. And that is only the beginning for what is then to come. So we hope, inshaAllah, when we talk about أَفَلَا تَتَفَكَّرُونَ, do you even reflect, do you even bother to think? Tonight and tomorrow we want to reflect on calamities, on difficulties, and what it is that Lady Zahra alayhi salam has left behind for us to say, hey, you know what, my Shia? I've given you some tools. My lineage have given you tools. Because Allah has said you're going to face these challenges. And don't think you're doing them alone. I've equipped you. I've set you up. So please, on these nights, reflect over the tools that we've given you, and inshallah it can help you get through it and gain proximity to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So tonight we'll look at something she was gifted, and tomorrow we'll look at something that she exhibited, that she had within her. But before we mention this gift, and before we mention this thing that she exhibited, there is a disclaimer that I wish to put out there that needs your utmost attention. We're going to share these two concepts, and there is every chance that me, having heard it for the 10th time, and you, no doubt, having heard this for the 10th time, will just simply roll your eyes. Then you're going to look back at me and say, what? This guy came and gave this illustrious introduction. These two amazing tools as to what could be used in order to reflect on how we can get better in these moments of adversity and problems and challenge that I'm facing. And this is the two things he came out with. There is every chance that all of us, including myself, will simply just roll our eyes at these two solutions that Lady Zahra alayhi salam has left us with. That's a dangerous thought. It's a very, very dangerous thought. And we don't want to fall into that situation where the advice from our Immaculate Imam alaykum as-salam is something we just roll our eyes at. Oh, here we go again. I've heard this one before. So in order to make sure we don't suffer from that, we're going to begin tonight by just remembering for a moment who Lady Zahra alayhi salam was. But not just look and give her fada'il. I'm not saying that her fada'il is not to be given. But I want us to try and intellectually and logically understand her rank, her status. Because if you wanted to, for example, be told how to save and invest your money in the best way, you'd go to a very qualified financial professional. You'd want to see their credentials. Once you see their credentials, then you would take their advice sincerely. In the same way, if we want to know how to handle tough moments, adversities, challenges, problems that I know we're all facing, then we need to make sure we recognize and remember, I should say, the credibility, the status, the maqam, the azama of Lady Zahra. Because when that advice comes, either we roll our eyes because we think the advice is useless, hopefully not because we've now remembered her maqam, or instead we now think maybe it's because I haven't reflected on these two pieces of advice that she's given us. Maybe the issue's me. Maybe the journey's within me. Maybe the textbook is there, and I've been looking at it, but I've not read it. Maybe the textbook is there and it's on my shelf, and I tell everyone I've got it, but I've never opened it. Maybe the questions are in that textbook, but still to this day, I've never tried to look up the answer. Maybe we're guilty of it. So inshallah, if you're all with me and with your permission, I ask you to bless this majlis with a salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. In order to try and ascertain the rank of Lady Fatima alayhi salam, we'll mention towards the end that this is an impossible task as per a hadith from Imam Sadiq alayhi salam. But in order to try and begin to ascertain her rank, we're going to look towards the words and the guidance of one of our esteemed maraja, Samahat Ayatollah Wahid al-Khurasani. May Allah elevate all of our ulama, keep them safe. For those of you who do not know, Ayatollah Wahid is known to be one of the most a'lam maraj that we have in our community at the moment, in the Shia community. He's aged 101 or 104 if you take the Islamic route. And still to this day, as of 2 days ago, he still takes out a mawkib, a procession, on the shahadas of two individuals, Imam Sadiq alayhi salam and Sayyid Zahra. 104 or 101, depending how you want to see it. Still to this day in the holy city of Qom, still teaching Ba'ath al-Kharij, the top level of studies, still taking processions, still calling for people to take out processions, still calling for people to remember this day, just like how we remember Ashura. So we're going to look to him and his guidance on Lady Zahra alayhi salam. So how does he discuss her? If I were to say to you, describe to me Lady Fatima, I'm sure within 3 points you would tell me, oh yeah, she was great because she was the daughter of the Prophet. Okay, fine. What else? Oh, she was the wife of Amir al-Mu'mineen. Okay, fine. What else? Oh, she's the mother of Sayyidah Shabab Ahl al-Jannah. She's the mother of the youth of paradise, Hassan al-Hussein. Okay, fine. What else? Ah, she's the daughter of Khadija and Rasulullah. Okay. Is it just Lady Fatima has got her status because of her biological relation? Is that all it is? Or is there more to her? Is there more to understand? Is there more ma'rifah that we need to have of her? Ayatollah Wahid guides us in a beautiful way, and I need you to intellectually engage with us today, inshallah. Because unfortunately there are groups at the moment trying to undermine the status and the rank of Ali Muhammad. There's two things that until Judgment Day will always be side by side. Kitab Allah wa Itras Ahlul. You get rid of one, you lose one wing. You have open interpreters. You go in different directions. You get lost. So let's try and remember this rank. Ayatul Wahid guides us in the following way, and it's beautiful. Right back to aqaid, right back to our belief system, right back to the core. He goes back and says, look, hold on. The purpose of creation is to what? It's to recognize and serve Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to get closer to Him, to seek perfection. And that's only possible through this divine path of revelation that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has sent down. And the light to reach that path is through Allah. Allahu nuru samawati wal ard. Surah 24 verse 35. Allah is the light of the heavens and the earth. And that we've been created from the most despicable fluid, yet we have the ability to reach the peak of perfection. And this worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is just like His recognition. The more we understand Him, the more we wish to worship. The more we worship Him, the greater we see Him, the more we want to understand Him. It's an infinite circle. And this isn't possible except with the constitution of worship, without the guidance of worship that's been given to us, legislated by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is delivered by who? The Holy Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. Our goal is to get closer to Allah. To do that, we've been given down a perfect revelation. That perfect revelation comes through the Holy Prophet. So we therefore call upon Allah with His names, which are the gems from the treasures of His cognition. وَلِلَّهِ الْأَسْمَاءُ الْحُسْنَى فَدْعُوهُ بِهَا. To Allah alone belong the most beautiful names, so call unto Him thereby. The recognition of worship, which is the purpose in the creation, and the resulting Prophet has reached its completion with the sending of the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And this knowledge is guarded. It's kept safe. It's not left open to any opinions, to any random meetings, to any random shuras in a random city. No. It's been guarded by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through His holy prophets and the divine elected guides, through wisdom, through infallibility, those free from giving in to their desires. And Allah created this single path, this sirat al-mustaqim, that takes you towards Him, that is perfectly protected. And He opened up the door to the world of mankind, which is the door to the highest level of imamah, that requires this divine infallibility from all mistakes and all desires. But how do we link this essential step from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to the Holy Prophet to imamah? Because if you break that chain, we don't have this perfect path guarded anymore. We end up with a shura, or we could say a fight. Are you following me? We have Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He sends down His perfect religion through His perfect Prophet. His perfect Prophet ensures that he delivers this divine word of Allah. Allah ensures that this divine path is guarded by the A'imma alayhim as-salam. But how do we link the Holy Prophet to the A'imma? Because if we don't link it, if we don't have a link between the two, there's a gap. And with the gap, there's a chance to exploit. Without this gap, we're struggling. Without this gap, the link doesn't work. Without this gap, the perfect path is lost on us. Who is that perfect gap? Who is that link between the whole of the ummah with the highest messenger and the greatest imams? It is none other than Sayyidatul Nisa al-Alameen, Fatima al-Zahra salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayha. This lady alayhi salam is the means for continuation in this world of the essence of the Holy Prophet. She's the wife of Amir al-Mu'mineen. Yeah, she's the mother of Hassan Hussein. Yes, she's the daughter of Khadija bin Rasulullah. Yes, At some point, my dear brothers and sisters, we need to graduate our understanding from limiting and doing a disservice to Fatima and saying your status is only that because of your family members, and I'm not saying that's an insignificant thing, but I'm saying we're forgetting the entire other part, that she is essential within our usul. She is essential within our aqaid. She is essential for our success for dunya wal akhirah. She is the link. She is the bridge. She is the means of continuation of the Holy Prophet's divine message. She, according to Ayatul Wahid, is the means for imamah. So if you are here, inshallah, every single shahada and every single walada of the A'imma alayhim as-salam, and you're here for 10 nights, for Ashura al-Arba'een. And if you're here for Shahr Ramadan, if you are here at all, it is thanks to the lady who is the bridge between the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wa alihi and the A'imma alayhi wa salatu wassalam. Her rank, her azama, her status. And both Shi'as and Sunnis alike agree on this line in Quran, وَمَا يَنْتِقُ عَنِ الْهَوَى, Surah 53, verse number 3, that the Prophet does not speak out of desire. That everything that the Prophet does is revelation. So when the Holy Prophet comes out and says, Fatima bid'atu minni, that this Fatima indeed is a part of me, whatever distresses her, distresses me, whatever hurts her, hurts me, as seen in Bukhari. By saying this, the Prophet is not just saying, she's my daughter. So when we say, yes, she's got a status just because she's the Prophet's daughter, we're doing her a disservice. When the Prophet's saying, Fatima bid'atu minni, she's a part of me, she's an essence of me. Fatima alayhi salam, it said that her anger is the anger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Her pleasure is the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is a point for us to reflect on. And I want you to really, really follow me very carefully. If you can understand the subtlety of this point, inshallah we can move on to this gift that she's given that helps us solve our calamitous situation. So inshallah, if you wish to understand this point, أفلح من صلى على محمد وآل محمد. This point is exceptional, not from me, from Ayatul Wahid. Ayatul Wahid tells us that the highest level of human perfection is infallibility. Do we all agree? A few nods of the head. Yes, the highest level of infallibility, the highest level of human perfection is infallibility. This is where the pleasure and the anger rotates around the pleasure and anger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Agreed? The pleasure and anger rotates around the pleasure and anger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Inshallah, brothers, if we can just come a little bit more forward, inshallah, the organizer asking, أفلح من صلى على محمد وآل محمد. The highest level of human perfection is infallibility. This is where the point here is in the wording, and this is why I really need you to focus on this. This is where the pleasure and the anger rotates around the pleasure and the anger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The upper level of infallibility, yes, there are levels. The upper level of infallibility is where the human being reaches a level of perfection whereby his pleasure is absolutely, without there being any gap, without there being any time difference, if you like, no difference, is absolutely the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And his anger is absolutely the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Let me show you the difference. I learn that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves those who get up in the night and pray. Therefore, I love those who get up in the middle of the night and pray. Inshallah, we can be among the Muslimin in the night. So I learn about it and then I do it. Step one. Step two, you become so dissolved in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that there's a link. That you fully align. There's no gap. Immediately you know what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves and you love it too. This is an upper level of infallibility. This is what Sayyid Munir al-Kambaz, one of our great scholars, says, is like complete dissolution. You know, if you have water and you put salt into it, or sugar, what happens? The salt or the sugar, it dissolves. It's now a new substance. But if I take a cup and I have milk, and I put honey in it, the honey does not dissolve in the milk. This is known now as salt water. This is now still honey and milk. This is completely dissolved. It's become one. This is this upper level of infallibility. We become one with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There's no separation, unlike the milk and honey. This is the next level. This is the upper level of infallibility. And I'm like, wow, subhanAllah, what a great level. Fatima alayhi salam reaches a different level. Even beyond that. A level that even leaves the infallibles themselves in awe. As I said, we'll come to a hadith from Imam Sadiq referring to this. How? Because Sayyidina Fatima alayhi salam is the one for whose pleasure Allah is pleased with, and for whose anger Allah is angered. Whatever Fatima is pleased with, Allah becomes pleased with. Whatever Fatima is angry with, Allah becomes angry with. Ayatul Wahid guiding us to this, that there is a different level of Fatima alayhi salam. Incredible. No surprises therefore that in Quran, فِيهَا يُفْرَقُ كُلُّ أَمْرٍ حَكِيمٍ. Therein why every wise affair is made distinct. She is the blessed night. And in the verse of Mubahala, where we bring our women and your women and so on, she's referred to as our women, as the plural, yet she is one, but she is Sayyidatin Nisa al-Alameen, Fatima. That when we hear the line Maraj al-Bahrain yaltaqiyan in Surah Al-Rahman, that He has made the two seas to flow freely so that they meet together, and we usually think to that Facebook post of the lighter blue ocean and the darker blue ocean meeting together, that I'm sure we've all seen. The Mufassirin say that this is alluding to Lady Fatima and Amir al-Mu'mineen being the two oceans of prophethood and knowledge coming together.
Subhanallah.
And in Surah 79 and Surah 76 and verse number 9, we only feed you for Allah's sake. We desire from you neither reward nor thanks. Only Lady Fatima alayhi salam she's the only lady who's been placed with the crown of this verse.
MashaAllah.
Wow. Yeah, she's the daughter of Rasulullah. Okay. Beautiful. But there is so much to understand of Fatima alayhi salam. So much. أَفَلَا تَتَفَكَّرُونَ. Do we reflect? Do we go seek it? Do we go invest in it? Do we go and understand her? That's a question for you and I to answer. So, now we recognize her azamah, we recognize her greatness, we remind ourselves and we educate ourselves on her rank. Why? Because we said we wanted to say, Ya Fatima, oh our dear queen, oh our dear teacher, we're facing challenges. I've got a financial bill that hits me every month that I'm struggling with. I've got a family member who is slowly leaving the path of Ali Muhammad. I've got an exam coming up that I'm struggling with so much. I've got a marriage that is really causing me difficulty. I've got a loved one who's about to pass away. Ya Fatima, please teach us. These trials, these calamities, these tribulations, please guide us. What are we meant to do in these moments? I believe in your qualifications, if you like. What do you have for me? Tonight we discuss a gift. Tomorrow we discuss a characteristic that we have. What is the gift? Our holy sixth Imam, Imam Ja'far in as-Sadiq, salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa alayhi Muhammad.
Comes out with a hadith where he's reported to say, we ask our children to recite the tasbih of Lady Fatima alayhi salam just as we ask them to perform their salat. Just as we ask them to perform their salat. The significance given to salat by Ali Muhammad, Imam al-Sadiq is saying, we ask our children to recite the tasbih of Lady Fatima just as we ask them to perform their salat. Just as. He continues, he's reported to continue. You should commit yourself to reciting this. No servant of Allah has been committed to this tasbih and then experienced misfortune in his life. What is it about this tasbih? Because let's be frank, each of us have probably been guilty of getting through a tasbih of Lady Fatima in under 60 seconds, right? Maybe even under 30 seconds. We almost rap the tasbih faster than rappers on the radio. We've got to look ourselves in the mirror and be like, is this just a set of beads or is this something legitimate that's taking me somewhere? We take a step back and we look at the context by which this tasbih was gifted to Lady Fatima alayhi salam. And Shaykh al-Saduq in Man La Yahduru al-Faqih includes a tradition in which Amir al-Mu'mineen narrates the story whilst in Medina. And he's reported to say, shall I tell you about something that relates to me and the daughter of the Holy Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi? And the people wanted to know about the origin of this tasbih, so he continues. But before we go into what happens, let's just get an understanding of the context. The people in Medina at the time, very difficult situation, very difficult life, ongoing wars, attacks. And Islam was in its very early days at this point. The community was poverty-stricken, there was no financial stability amongst them. And especially those who had migrated from the holy city of Mecca to the holy city of Medina. They left behind, as we know, their livelihoods, everything, in order to save their lives. And one group in particular were known to be homeless, even sheltering outside the mosque during very tough weather. And during peacetime, when the wars kind of had subsided, and there was a kind of like a temporary halt, Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam, he would struggle, note, to earn income. He'd work hard to get that income. Longer hours outside of the home. Now I'm starting to feel that you guys are like, yeah, I can resonate with this. Longer hours, difficult financial situation. Okay, maybe it's not so different. And guess what? The pressure weighed on Lady Fatima alayhi salam inside the house, who also had young children to take care of.
carrying water, leaving rope marks on her shoulders, kneading the flour and giving her strained hands, sweeping and dusting the home, cooking and the ashes and the smoke going through the house and impacting her breathing and her clothes. The context was tough, but actually a little bit familiar to us as well. So back to the hadith. The Imam ﷺ described the challenges of Lady Fatima, and then he said, he's reported to say, so I told her, perhaps you should go to your father and ask him for a servant so as to decrease your burdens. And according to the hadith, Lady Fatima ﷺ goes to the Holy Prophet, who at the time was speaking with a group of men, and therefore due to her modesty, she returned home. However, the Prophet noticed her, and went to her home the next day and asked, and he's reported to say, oh Fatima, what did you want yesterday from Muhammad? Ibn Mu'min speaks on her behalf, explains the difficult situation that we just covered. And the Holy Prophet's reported to say, أَفَلَا عَلِّمُكُمَا مَا هُوَ خَيْرُ لَكُمَا مِنَ الْخَادِمِ. Shall I teach you something which would be better for you than having a servant? So they're asking, should we get a servant? And the Holy Prophet said, look, shall I teach you something which would be better for you than having a servant? Think about our context. We're struggling, should I get a cleaner? Should I get a this? Should I get a that? And now, we're not saying don't go and invest and try and improve the situation, no. But just look at what the Holy Prophet saying in terms of a priority. Shall I teach you something which would be better for you than having a servant? And the Holy Prophet then went on to explain this tasbih of Lady Fatima ﷺ, to which Lady Fatima ﷺ is reported to reply, رَضِيتُ عَنِ اللَّهِ وَعَنْ رَسُولِهِ. I am pleased with Allah and His Messenger. So we see that this quick acceptance to the tasbih as a solution for her situation illustrates that she was very happy with this, that she believed in this, that it was going to help her. And instead of continuing to insist on this practical help, she's like, you know what, I see some value in this. I see something behind it. Imam al-Sadiq ﷺ is reported to say, Allah has not been worshipped by any kind of praise better than the tasbih of Lady Fatima. Had there been a better gift, the Messenger of Allah would have instead presented that to Lady Fatima. So there was nothing better that the Holy Prophet could have given, otherwise out of his mercy and out of his love, he would have given it to her. So what is it about this tasbih? What is the weight behind it? Because frankly, all I know, it's Allahu Akbar 34, it's Alhamdulillah 33, and it's Subhanallah 33. It's not changing my situation. If I just sit there doing that, it's not going to change my situation. What is behind it? Well, clearly it's all centered around the glorification and remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's clear. Shaykh Shamali in his book of the tafsir of tasbih, he goes down into the word of tasbih coming from sabaha, to swim or to move faster, to move towards something without any friction, to move towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala without any friction, like a swim. Someone who's in this state of glorification,